In this tutorial, we're going to look at using some design elements to help create visual interest when designing with type. I'm going to focus primarily on contrast, but look at some techniques that you can use to help you choose which types of fonts go together, which don't, some other techniques. Alright, so if you don't have Illustrator open, go ahead and do that now. I'm going to create a new document. I'm going to go with the custom inkjet and let's call it logo type practice and click OK. I'm going to hit F to work in full screen, space bar, move that over a little bit. Now I'm going to remove the stroke. I don't want stroke on my type, and since my background's white, I'm going to make sure that my fill is black so it stands out for now. I'm going to take my type tool over on the left, T for type, or you can click on it on the toolbar. I'm going to click up here in the left corner, and right now it's probably really hard for you to see, but there is a flashing or blinking cursor there. It's a little small for the size artboard that we have. So I'm going to up my font size here to 100, and I'm going to change my font family from the Adobe default, which is Marriott Pro, to one of my favorites and one of the most used or recognized fonts in the world. We're going to go with Helvetica, and I don't know how that's said, I guess new. I'm going to go with Helvetica New. A great thing about this font family, and not all font families have this feature, is it has quite a few font styles, right? Condensed, bold, black, light, thin, all these types of things. Other ones, for example, let me just switch just to show you Impact, for example. Impact only has regular, right? So you'll see that some of the font families you choose are going to have less options for styles. I'm going to go back, Helvetica New, and let's just start with regular for now. And we're going to type out MacLab, and I'm going to hit Return Studios. So right now that gives us a start. One of your first typography based projects is going to be to create a design company logo, and we're going to focus on a logo type logo. That is a logo that primarily, its primary design uses text. One common way you see for this is like two-line logo type, right? And we talked about how you can use leading to bring that together. Let's look at contrast though first. So a couple ways you can create contrast: size, shape, color, stuff like that. I'm going to highlight just the word Mac in MacLab, and I'm going to create contrast with size. I'm going to stay within this font family, but I'm going to change the font style from regular to condensed bold. Then I'm going to take Lab in MacLab, change that from regular to light. And you can see just from that one or two simple changes, I've already created more visual interest than what I had before, because I've created contrast with thick, thin. Alright? Now, let's say we're taking studios. If you were to do a two-line logo type like this, where you have your company name and then kind of what you do, or it's still part of your company name, but it's a little less important in my opinion than like DreamWorks is more important than DreamWorks Studios in my opinion. So this, and to create contrast, to make it would be maybe a little bit smaller, right? So we can maybe do something like bring that down to 60, right? Maybe even make it thin, something like that. And then I can highlight both and adjust my leading, right, to bring that. I'm holding Option in the up arrow, I'm bringing that bottom line up. And you can have something like that. Now we would adjust maybe how Studios ends and lines up, but that's another way of creating contrast based on what's more important, right? This is more like a heading and it's more like a subheading. Now, another thing you're going to learn when we get into designing a logo is a big focus is often simple yet unique. So you may want to think about, do I need studios, for example, in my logo? And maybe you think you don't. So maybe you get rid of studios and then you're just left with MacLab. And then I'm going to take my type tool and I'm going to type out the and change that from thin. I'm going to go with maybe a medium. I'm going to bring the size down to something small, 36, and move that up right above the MacLab like that. I might do something like that, simplify it a little bit. The MacLab, right? Now, we also talked about how you could create contrast with color. So this was creating contrast with size or shape. We could also change the colors of these words, right? You could pick a color scheme and make, you know, Mac in MacLab orange, for example. Another thing we can do is let's introduce a shape, and let's look at this really quick. I'm going to take my rectangle tool and I'm going to draw a rectangle right in between Mac and Lab, just like that. And I want it to be black, so I have my fill black, but I want it to be behind my words. I'm going to say object, arrange, send it back. Now that means that since we have black text, we're not going to see it. So I'm going to take my type tool, double click inside, and I'm going to make Lab white. Oops, I accidentally clicked too much. Let's go back. Let me make sure the word Mac stays black. So I want Mac black, Lab white. Now we have another way of creating some visual interest. We have some more contrast there, right? Black, white, and then black, white, kind of a space, negative space kind of thing. You can even come in, I like it like that, but you can even come in and I'm going to click right above so I have my shape selected. I'm going to make a copy of that. I'm going to hold Option and then Shift and drag it over and line it right up to the edge. It should snap. I'm going to stretch it out just a little bit past my words there. I'm going to make the fill on this one white, but with a stroke. Alright, so I'm going to add a stroke. I'm going to make that stroke a little bit thicker. So I have my stroke panel over there, a little bit thicker. I have to then, I'm going to click off, and you can see now it looks awkward. There's a stroke, but my other one doesn't have it, so they're not lined up well. So I'm going to click on the black square, and I'm also going to add my 3-point stroke on there. So this is another kind of technique you see some styles or some logos or something like this. But that's a way to use contrast to create visual interest. Think about size, shape, color.